Major milestone kicking off today in the auto industry. Car makers, including Ford, General Motors, Subaru, and Fiat Chrysler, are resuming some U.S. operations this week. Auto sales down some 47% in a month, yet there are signs things are getting better. Let's bring in AutoNation CEO and Executive Chairman Mike Jackson. Mike, it is good to see you. We're going to talk about the results that we're seeing from your firm. Welcome. Great to have you back as CEO. We understand Cheryl Miller has some health issues. We wish her well, but welcome to you to come in. And this is quite a time to be back at CEO. How's business today versus even in the last 6 weeks, Mike?
Well, Joe, thank you for extending your best wishes to Cheryl with all of us. And it's been a remarkable experience over the last couple months. We are all in a very different place than where we thought we would be 2 months ago. And we, like others, we had an exceptional January and February. Business was really good, and then shelter in place arrived. But you can see the extent of the strength in that adjusted earnings per share were 91 cents for the first quarter, compared to 95 cents last year, so only down 4% with shelter in place hitting us in the middle of March. Now, I have to say, shelter in place was not in any of our business plans. I even have a hard time imagining it for America. I don't think it's ever happened in the history of the country. But by the beginning of April, 95% of our markets were shelter in place. And we had the most rapid decline in business, far exceeding the Great Recession or anything else, where the business collapsed literally in a matter of days. We were down 50% on vehicle sales, 40% on customer care, and not knowing, is it going down to 80, 90% down, or just what? So we had to take action to protect the company, to ensure that we would be on the other side of the crisis, come what may. And we took steps to reduce the size of the company. We had to furlough 7,000 employees, almost 30% of our workforce. We took pay cuts everywhere, all the classic things you do on the cost side and all the things you do on the capital side. All capital spending was suspended except for absolutely what had to be done to maintain the business. Now, what was good is dealerships and AutoNation was deemed an essential business by every government across the country. And if you think about it, it is indeed essential in that nurses, doctors, firemen, policemen, when they have difficulty with their cars, and they are truly essential, saving America, they need it to be cared for. And I want to thank all the employees of AutoNation of being there, working under these conditions to care for those vehicles. As a matter of fact, I think it was a great moment for every dealership in America. Proved to be a pillar of their communities. Now, very interesting was this drumbeat from customers coming in about safety in two aspects. For them to come in or interact with the company, even if we came to their home, they wanted to be sure they were going to be safe. And entirely new protocols had to be put in place around safety. And this included everything from providing every employee with a mask and requiring them to wear it, and it's a new one, fresh one every day, to if you hand a pen to the customer, it's in a sealed case, sealed envelope, and it's never been used before and doesn't need to be used again. But the biggest insight, Joe, is the drumbeat that customers want personal space in mobility. And we hear this day in, day out, and this drumbeat is increasing. We've moved from being 50% down, and rather than it getting worse, the last 10 days of April into May were only 25% down. Now, I never thought I'd be celebrating only being 25% down, but it could have gone the other way. That I'm comfortable sitting here today and declaring the automotive recovery is underway. It's supported by pent-up demand, this need for personal space, available financing at very affordable prices, and it's entirely appropriate that the factories reopen. I fully support it. We need the vehicles. Yeah. As a matter of fact, Andrew, I would go so far as to say I support Elon Musk.
Yeah, it's
Tesla
Joe,
should open.
Yeah, it's Joe, Mike. Anyway, Let me just, that is unbelievable. So for the first 10 days of April, down 52% in sales. And then for the last 10 days, down just 19. I mean, your stock, we have seen the stock market, Mike, we've seen it come back substantially, but you were down in the low 20s. AutoNation in March got down to the low 20s, I think around $20 intraday. It's doubled back to where it is. So you can almost see what you were just illustrating, that you're already seeing a rebound in just the whole sentiment around cars. And I know exactly what you're saying, because when I'm in a car, we've had to go and pick someone up that was out of town. When you're in a little steel tube, and it's almost like you're driving, there's no COVID out there, but we're also aware of what's around us, that when you're in a car, you are truly still in a totally safe space. So I could see that. I'm not sure what it says about mass transit, flying, subways, and everything else, but certainly being in a private car, I think we're going to drive. I think we're going to drive down somewhere on vacation now, Mike, if we ever get to take one.
Joe, you're not. This is an exact quote from customers. What you just said, Joe. They're already planning their next vacation, and it's in a radius that they can drive in a couple days. And they want a vehicle that they will be comfortable making a trip like that with their family, who they trust, but they collectively want that family to be safe. And I don't know what it says about air travel, subways, buses, but we have a drumbeat around safety. And I think the challenge for every business in America is to figure out how you're going to create a safe environment for your customers. That's now the entry back into the game. It's around safety, and you have to figure it out for your business. We've done it for ours, and we do have this drumbeat around safety and personal space and personal transportation that I would say the recovery is clearly underway.
Hey, Mike, when it comes to safety, one of the questions, and I've heard this question, actually it was asked to me over the weekend, when people go to service their car, for example, at an AutoNation or anywhere, they want to know whether the service person has been tested, because they're going to go, obviously, potentially inside the car. They may sit in either the passenger seat or the driver's seat to test it, to make sure it's working. What are you doing along those lines?
So all employees are required to wear masks. No employee is allowed to permitted to come to work who doesn't feel well. And we have the ability to provide a Clorox service that takes about 5 minutes for a customer that will kill all corona in the car. We do that for every pre-owned car that we deliver. So our protocol list around safety is long, comprehensive, and expensive. I think it absolutely has to be done. I think it's the cost of doing business, and every company has to figure it out for itself. I would also say, Andrew, that digital capability, that the customer can do as much as possible digitally, they really like that, from pre-registering the car to come in for service, or having us pick it up at their home, or delivering a vehicle to their home. We've moved from doing 30% of our sales transactions originated digitally up to 45% in a matter of days, and I don't think there's any turning back. So companies need digital capability, and companies need to provide a safe environment.
Hey, Mike, it's Becky. It's good to see you again. I know that there had been some concern kicked up, or some controversy kind of kicked up a little bit, about some of the dealerships, the AutoNation dealerships that had applied for money under the PPP. Can you give us an update on where that stands, if they did apply, if there's a reason for that because they're separate and independent of the company? Just kind of walk us through that.
So first, Becky, I give the government very high marks on the economic front in trying to deal with this incredible economic catastrophe. And I think the work that Treasury and the Federal Reserve have done between Steve Mnuchin and Jay Powell is remarkable. They both may ultimately be nominated for sainthood for the work they did in an incredibly short period of time. I also think the PPP program, the focus on that specifically, was inspired. Almost, I hate to say this, Joe, European in concept, where we had this avalanche of unemployment, Imagine there's fewer jobs in America today than there was at the bottom of the Great Recession. It's almost incomprehensible. So they had many innovative, creative programs to try to deal with unemployment. That was the origination of PPP, where it was basically a grant that said, if you'll keep your payroll the same as it was a year ago, we will give you this grant and it will be forgiven. That's how the program started. We did it for our employees. I mean, I furloughed 7,000 employees. We had people who were making far less than they were the year before. We were, in effect, a pass-through to try to protect paychecks. Well, as can happen with government, after a couple weeks, they changed their mind. And basically, Mnuchin and Treasury said, look, you're above a certain size. Even if you dot all your I's and cross all the T's and give all this money to your employees, we're not going to forgive it. Well, that's a game changer, and you could see many companies rethinking PPP because no one's in a position to be a pass-through for the government. You know, the unemployment lines were as far as the eye could see, so people couldn't get to their unemployment. So I applaud the initial program. Once they turned it back into a small business loan program, and there's no clear path to forgiveness, we withdrew all our applications and returned the money we had received thus far.